Hey, how's it going everyone? Mr. X and Y97 here. Today we're going to be talking about two new Pokemon that came out with the release of Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet. These two new Pokemon are known as Dondozo and Tatsugiri. At first glance, the only thing that these two Pokemon seem to have in common at all is that they somewhat resemble fish, but other than that, there's no clear correlation between the two. While Dondozo seems to be a giant catfish, Tatsugiri seems to be based off of sushi. There's not much correlation here besides the fish aspect, but once you look into the ability that Tatsugiri has, you notice there's a lot more correlation between the two than you would see at a first glance. The ability I'm referring to is the new signature ability of Tatsugiri, Commander. As it states, when the Pokemon enters a battle, it goes inside the mouth of an ally Dondozo if one is on the field. The Pokemon then issues commands from there. What this essentially means is when you send out a Dondozo and a Tatsugiri at the same time in a doubles battle, Dondozo gets a +2 in every one of its stats. You heard this correctly, every one of its stats. Attack, defense, special attack, special defense, speed, all of it. Taking a look at Tatsugiri's stats, we see that in some areas it excels, and in others not so much. As a Dragon Water type, this Pokemon is only weak to Dragon and Fairy, as Dragon resists both of Water's weaknesses, Grass and Electric. With a base stat total of 475, it's not too shabby. With a special attack stat of 120, it's definitely usable paired with its move, Draco Meteor. But its HP and defense are definitely lacking. On the special side, it can tank a little more though. Considering what happens when Tatsugiri's ability does activate, if you were pairing it with Dondozo, it probably didn't need to take hits anyways. Taking a look at Dondozo's stats, we see as a base stat total of 530. This is very high, but the distribution isn't the best. His HP stat is 150, which means he'll take a hit or two for sure. With a defense stat of 115, if you're hitting on the physical side, it's definitely going to take more than one. On the special side, however, you have a higher chance of knocking him out with a super effective attack. His speed stat is 35, which is incredibly low, but this could make him somewhat useful in Trick Room. With an attack stat of 100, he can hit decently hard. With a special attack of 65, you won't be using that. What really makes these stats crazy is when we take into account Tatsugiri's ability. When Commander activates, this makes Dondozo's base attack stat effectively 200, defense 230, special attack 130, special defense 130, and speed 70. This is a sizable increase in every stat, and makes Dondozo much more threatening than without it. This is basically a shell smash that doesn't decrease any stats and only increases every stat. It's very powerful. But what happens to Tatsugiri? Well, Tatsugiri, since it jumps into Dondozo's mouth, is no longer able to be hit by any move until Dondozo faints. But you can still target Tatsugiri. So if your opponent is not aware of how the ability works, they might target Tatsugiri and never understand that the reason their attacks keep missing is because it's unhittable. The game probably should tell you this, but it's funny to see people's reactions nonetheless. The next thing I wanted to go over is that Tatsugiri actually has 3 different forms that actually serve a purpose. First looking at them, it seems to just change the color. The 3 forms are Base Form Tatsugiri, Droopy Form Tatsugiri, and Stretchy Form Tatsugiri. Each of these Tatsugiri forms interact differently with a move exclusive to Dondozo, Order Up. Order Up is an exclusive move to Dondozo that is a Dragon-type physical attack with 80 base power. This move causes a stat to raise by 1 stage depending on the Tatsugiri form. The orange Tatsugiri, also known as Base Form Tatsugiri, causes Dondozo's defense stage to raise by 1 after using Order Up. The pink one, also known as the Droopy form, causes Dondozo's attack stage to increase by 1, while the yellow one, Stretchy form, causes the speed stat to raise by 1. I also thought I should mention that when Dondozo uses this attack, he serves the Tatsugiri on a platter. I don't know how to feel about this, but it's pretty funny. You see, what's so amazing about this ability and this synergy is we really don't have anything like it. I mean, we don't have any ability that really just fuses two Pokemon in a double battle to the point where it's basically a 2v1 and causes like this Omni boost. I just think it's really interesting and cool. But when looking at it from a competitive standpoint, I think if they know what you're doing, it's pretty easy to counter. Haze will get rid of the Omni boost. If they focus down Dondozo and don't ever target Tatsugiri, it's not too hard to knock him out. Because if you don't invest anything into speed, he's still not that fast after the Omni boost. And overall, Dondozo just isn't that hard to counter if your opponent knows what's going on. But when we take into account the Tatsugiri forms plus Order Up, there are some interesting implications. Let's say, for instance, we're using the Stretchy form, so every time we use Order Up, Dondozo's speed increases. This can be very good for sweeping the opponent. Slap a weakness policy onto Dondozo, and once they use that grass type move to try to one-shot you, you'll survive, get that extra boost in your attack stat, and use Order Up to increase your speed, and now you're in prime position to sweep the opponent. It's not the most viable, but it's tons of fun to try. And with that, that's really all for this video. If you guys enjoyed this content and want to see more Scarlet and Violet coverage, please leave a like and subscribe, and tell me in the comments what you want me to cover next. I'm interested in Palafin, or apparently there's been a change to Slacking, but I need to look more into that. If you guys want to see any of that, please let me know, and take care.